Hello everyone, and I am so happy that you are here today joining this masterclass and training that will solve your next interview or job interview in English. We're going to talk about the interview STAR, and this masterclass is literally going to help you feel more confident in your next job interview. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. When we have a job interview, one of the questions that we are asked, or several questions we are asked, are the behavioral questions. So you may wonder, what are behavioral questions? These questions are designed to assess how the candidates have handled different situations in the past. This is going to help them provide insights into your skill, attitudes, and even your personality traits and characteristics to see if they align to what they're basically looking for. Now, some characteristics of these questions are that they are, number one, experience-based. These questions require you to draw on specific examples from your past work experience, ideally. They are also situational focused, like they often start with phrases like, tell me about a time when, or can you give me an example of. These are like the two wide examples. However, we can have other questions that may look similar and that are still behavioral questions. And they also are a skill assessment, and this is super important to remember when you're in a job interview. Behavioral questions aim to evaluate your competencies, your skills, such as problem solving, teamwork, leadership, adaptability, and so on. Remember that you want to showcase these skills, especially if they're related to soft skills, which in a way, that's what they're trying to evaluate here. Now, some examples of behavioral questions in job interviews can be, for example, can you give me an example about a time when you faced a challenging situation at work and how you handle it? Describe a situation where you had to work with a difficult team member. How did you handle the conflict? Give me an example of a time when you went above and beyond what was expected of you. Tell me about a time when you had to manage multiple priorities. How did you ensure everything was completed on time? As you can see, these are basically asking you to give examples. They are asking you to elaborate on your answer, to explain how that happened, how you accomplished to do that. So it would be very interesting for you to also download the guide that is linked in this video as well, where you will have other additional examples of behavioral questions. Now, what do these questions assess, or what are they looking to evaluate you on when you answer these questions? Well, a couple of these skills may be interpersonal skills, conflict resolution abilities, problem solving skills, initiative, time management, creativity, ability to work under pressure, teamwork, adaptability, and so many others that I just didn't list here because I just wanted to give you a couple examples of what they may be evaluating low key when they ask you these questions. So you may wonder, okay, so now I know the questions that they may ask me. I know what they're looking to evaluate me on. When I'm answering these questions, how can I answer these questions? And this is what you're here for. I have studied and I have also proven these or this specific method we are about to dive into, and I can personally tell you on a personal level again that this has actually worked. I not only have applied using this method, but I have also taught it several times in the past, and everyone tells me it's been a success. So this is basically your guide to success in your next interview. So STAR method. This is the name of the masterclass, and it is basically because the STAR method is a proven structured approach that helps you provide clear, concise, and comprehensive answers by focusing on specific examples from your past experiences. Again, these answers are basically for you to implement while you are asked behavioral like questions, of course, in the interview. So this method is going to help you organize your answers. This is going to help you demonstrate competence when you are talking and answering the questions. This is going to help you build confidence. Remember, confidence is such an important skill for you to attain or acquire, especially if you are facing a job interview. This will say a lot about you. And number 4, this also builds a strong first impression, okay? So using this method to answer these questions really has a lot of benefits that you can apply. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the first letter in the STAR method. The first letter, S, stands for situation. Basically, in this part of your answer, which is the first part of your answer, you will have to describe the context within which you performed a task or faced a challenge at work. It is very important here that you give background information. However, I want to suggest that it is not necessary for you to spend a lot of time in this part of your answer. Remember, each letter, STAR, within the STAR method, each letter has a portion of your answer. So the S portion of it is just giving context, a little background, okay? What are some phrases you can use in order to give this context we are talking about? Some examples can be, in my previous role I encountered a situation where, and then you explain. While working at XY company, and then you explain the situation. During my time at XY company, there was a time when blah, 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 blah. So basically, it's just a quick reference as to where were you at that time, what were you doing, what company were you working from, what year was this in. These are all good background information, okay? This is another complete example. It says, in my previous role as a marketing coordinator, our company was launching a new product. So as you can see, I'm giving them what my previous role was. I'm giving them what our company was going through, and then of course the launch. And of course, because this is just the first portion of the answer, you will then have to dive a little bit deeper into what happened, what did you do, and so on. So S stands for situation, and here are a couple examples you can use to introduce this context and give a little bit of background information. Something important here as well is that you don't have to use 3 phrases to start this part. You can literally take a screenshot of this, use only one of these, and you will be set to answer in a quality way, okay? T. T in the STAR method stands for task. So basically, in this part of your answer, you will need to explain the actual task or responsibilities that you had or that were required from you in that specific situation. So what did you have to do? What was your responsibility, basically? Some examples of expressions can be, I was in charge of. You can also say something like, I was responsible for, my objective was to, the goal was to, it was my responsibility to, I was given the role to, right? These are all possible examples of expressions you can use to initiate this part of your answer. So this is another example that is a little bit more complete for you to be able to take or use as reference. I was responsible for organizing a lunch event and creating the promotional materials. So maybe if we link these two, you can also say, in my previous role as a marketing coordinator, our company was launching a new product. I was responsible for organizing a launch event and creating the promotional materials. See, this is how you can start getting these together. Now, after the T, we have A. A is actions. A stands for actions. So in the STAR method, I guess probably the most important letter, if I had to choose, would definitely be A, as in actions. And this is basically because in this portion of your answer is when you will be describing the specific actions you took to address the task or challenge. And it is super crucial here that you focus on what you did. Of course, when we work in a company, we sometimes spend time with teammates and we are part of a team. But when you are in a job interview, it is also super important that you focus on yourself. I usually try to remind myself of this. It is also, I think, a skill and a communication skill that we should all develop at some point. But focus on what you did. Talk about yourself when it comes to the actions and the steps that you took, instead of focusing on what the team did, okay? I can spend forever here because actually this would be the most important one, and this is where you will probably spend the most time when answering these questions. And this is probably about 60% of the time in your answer will be spent here. So I would suggest you pay attention to the way you will answer this specific portion. If I can give you additional tips for this, I would say use action verbs. Some action verbs can be implemented, developed, called, designed, produced, because these verbs show action, you know? I would also say make sure that you use sequencing connectors when you are developing these actions or when you're talking about this answer. So what do I mean by sequencing connectors? I mean first, second, third, after that, additionally, then, finally. These are all important connectors you can use to show a beginning and an end, to show fluency in your answer, and of course sequence. So we want to make sure that these connectors help you organize your ideas while you are describing what things you were actually doing. Some examples that can help you initiate this answer can be, I started by, to address this, I, first, second, third, I took proactive steps by, or I started by 1, 2, 3, you know? My approach was to tackle the issue, I implemented, so on and so on. So these are basically just the beginning phrases, and then you will have to use action verbs. I think you can even download a free action verbs PDF either here in my link. You can also ask for that in the different social media you can find me in. I can definitely share those with you. And of course, I don't say it here, but it would be super beneficial for you to use the verbs that are relevant to the role you're applying to, you know? If you're interviewing for a production focused role, then make sure you use action verbs that have to do with this role. However, if you are interviewing for a more analytical role or a data-based role, maybe you will need to use other type of action verbs to be more relevant to the role you're applying to. This is a great example here I wanted to also share with you because it is a little bit more complete, and again, it can help as an example for you when you're trying to create your own answer. For example, to address this, I coordinated with different departments to gather necessary information, I designed the promotional materials, and I managed the event logistics. I also conducted market research to identify the target audience. So, as you can see, we have coordinated, designed, managed, conduct, researched. So a lot of action verbs, okay? And this again will showcase a lot of your skills as far as what you did in this specific scenario, okay? And last but not least, and I'm sorry if I'm going too fast, I guess I'm just very passionate about this topic, and I'm sure we can then talk a little bit about interviews or like job interviews in general. I'm sure I also have a lot to give you on that, but to continue on the same line and to give you more examples for you to actually sit down and at least think about your answers, we're gonna go with the R in the STAR method. R stands for results. Now, this is the portion of the answer where you will have to share the outcomes or results of your actions. You need to quantify the results if possible and highlight positive impacts. I cannot say this enough. Please, please, please try to use numbers in this specific part. Results, as far as what you did, are more impactful if they showcase numbers. So make sure you quantify your results. You also talk about the impact that you had, and that you also include positive results or positive outcomes. You can also use words like increase, improved, saved, decreased, in case this is relevant to your area as well. And this way you can also show what you did to help, basically. Sometimes I've encountered cases where, because of the area of expertise I have developed my career on, it's very hard to use numbers sometimes. So something I found useful to also implement during this R portion of the answer is to include the things that you learned. So what did you learn? This is also a result you can definitely make part of your answer. Some expressions that can help you answer this last part would be: the outcome was, the main result was, this led to, as a result of my actions, so on and so on. I think, again, these are just examples. You can use others. You can even say there were many results. However, the main one was, and then like you can focus on just one or two if you want. Again, I would suggest you structure this answer before going into the interview so that you have a clearer idea of what you're gonna say. This is also a complete example in case you wanna use it. It says, as a result of my actions, the project was completed 2 weeks ahead of schedule and under budget. In this specific case, I would also say how much you saved. So you can also say, for example, as a result of my actions, the project was completed 2 weeks ahead of schedule and under project by XY%, which led to saving the same percentage or something like that, so that you also show numbers in the answer. I think this is a great way to practice everything that we've talked about. So I wanted to show you a little bit about a question that you could get asked and what would an answer look like. So let me move myself a little bit here so that I can show you how I would answer this question. Can you tell me about a time when you had to manage a project under a tight deadline? So let's say this is the answer. How would I answer? Okay, let me get into character so I can be more precise with you. So thank you very much for asking. This really gets me thinking a little bit about my previous experiences, and I can think about my previous role as a project manager. We had a critical client project with a very tight deadline due to unforeseen delays. I was responsible for ensuring the project was completed on time without compromising quality. I restructure the project plan, prioritized tasks, and also delegated responsibilities to team members based on their strengths. Additionally, I scheduled daily check-ins to monitor progress and address any issues promptly. Finally, I negotiated with the client for some flexibility on non-essential deliverables. We successfully completed the project 2 days ahead of deadline. As a result of my actions, the client was impressed with the quality of our work and subsequently awarded us a larger contract. Our team's efficiency improved by 50% for future projects due to the new processes we implemented. See, of course, this was a very long answer. There may be a couple big words that are not necessary for you to include in your answer, but I think it gives you a clear picture of what the situation included, what the task included, what the action included, and of course, the results. So this was more like a bonus example for you in case you want to use it as a reference. Before we leave, I just wanted to give you a couple final tips to remember while getting ready for your next interview, which, by the way, I wish you the best. The first one would be very specific and concise. We don't want 10-minute long answers. I don't think that's necessary. If the interviewers wished to know more about your answer, they will ask you more questions about it. But in these specific behavioral questions, you need to be clear, specific, and concise. Provide enough detail, of course, to make your story clear and understandable, but make sure you avoid unnecessary information. And if I could give you another one regarding this one, would be the best way for you to avoid giving unnecessary information is to have an idea, a sketch, a sketch of what you are going to say, okay? The second thing is be relevant, guys. Choose examples that are relevant to the job you are applying for and that demonstrate the skills and qualities that the employer is actually looking for. If you are applying for a human resources role where they say, what are the qualifications that you need, where they explain what the role is about, make sure that you filter those in the job description to be able to showcase them in your interview. This is key. And last but not least, practice. This is a perfect way because you'll have already started to practice, but prepare several star stories before your interview to ensure you can quickly recall and articulate them when needed. The more examples you have, the better, really. Like, there's not a, there isn't like a magic number of examples, but to be honest, when I've personally interviewed, I have at least 6 examples ready to be used. Of course, we cannot guess what questions are going to be asked, but this is why having enough examples is going to help you depending on what they ask. So it's not going to caught you, completely as a surprise. You will have already an idea of what examples you can use. And of course, you can always change them a little bit or even like use a different results for different situations, but still remember to be relevant, to be specific, concise, and clear. As a final summary of what we talked about today, we talked about the STAR method to help us answer behavioral questions. This is proven to be amazing and it will give you great results. It will set you up for success in your next interview in English. S stands for situation. This is where you will need to give a background and detailed information about the context. T stands for tasks. This is where you will need to talk about the challenge or the expectation or the role you were given. Action stands for actions. So what were the steps that you took? What tools did you use? What did you do basically? And R basically stands for results. This is where you talk about accomplishments, recognition, savings, or basically just quantify your results. Thank you so much for being here. I just really hope this taught you a lot. And if you would like to go from intermediate to advanced level and improve your fluency, you can definitely schedule a call with me to see if you qualify for the English Mastery Accelelator program, in which you could improve your fluency and English level in 90 days. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you are able to put all of these strategies into practice. Let me know if you have any questions, and of course, feel free to tell me your story. Super happy to help you, super happy to be here. I wish you the best, and I hope you have a great day or night and a great week ahead. Bye!